What's up, guys? It's Adrian What If, and I'm back again with another video. This is What If Deku Was a Jedi. So without any further ado, let's just get straight into it. We start off, unlike most of my what ifs, with a 4-year-old Deku going to the quirk doctor. In this, as you can probably already expect, Izuku doesn't have a quirk. This realization hit him a bit harder than normal because Izuku had liked All Might even more than he did in canon, which, if you think is possible, it is. Izuku was devastated. He instantly dropped his All Might doll, and his mother began to hug him, and she started crying for him. Izuku was just there, sitting there emotionless, not able to do anything. We then have a small time skip. Ever since that day, Izuku quite hasn't been able to access his feelings as he once did. This made Izuku pretty much a zombie. He only did what he needed to do and nothing more and nothing less. He had no emotion on his face, and you could never tell what he was thinking. Izuku continued like this for a very long time. Izuku didn't know what he wanted to do with his life, so he just figured he'd take something. He'd do something at something. Izuku was around the age of 10. When Izuku was just out and about, sitting down as he often did outside in the park, he was just waiting. He was just sitting there looking at the stars and the clouds and just wasn't doing anything. He heard a voice in his head tell him to pay attention. Izuku had heard this voice a lot, actually. Izuku didn't want to tell anybody because he didn't want anyone to think he was crazy, even though he knew himself that he probably was crazy. That's when Izuku started sitting there for a little while until all of a sudden somebody burst through the clearing and ran at him. But this person wasn't really paying attention to him and was about to hit him when a hero jumped through to stop this villain. That's when Izuku was snapped back to reality and he was sitting in his chair, the first expressions that he'd ever made in a very long time forming onto his face, so long that he barely remembered how to do them correctly. He looked around and he saw that just as he had seen, a person came running through the bushes as a hero jumped up to grab this person, knocking him down. This person was Aizawa, or Eraserhead as most people call him. After Aizawa finished wrapping the man up and securing him, he looked over to Izuku and asked him if he was okay, looking for any visible injuries. Izuku was shocked and didn't say anything. He was just sitting there, and Aizawa, not knowing, having any confirmation, decided it would be better safe than sorry, so he went over to the boy and started asking him questions like, are you injured? Are you okay? Do you know your parents' phone number? Do you know where I can find them? I can take you home. And Izuku was just staring at him. He didn't know what to say. That's when Aizawa just decided that he'd have to do it himself. He grabbed Izuku and began to walk him to the main street, asking Izuku if he could talk to point to where his house was. Izuku did so as he was led home by Aizawa. Aizawa had already called somebody to pick up the villain, so he didn't have to worry about them getting away. Izuku was a little worried that this guy was so forward, but he snapped the idea out of his mind and just kept going. That's when you realize something. Did he have a quirk? But he couldn't. The doctor said he didn't. Were they wrong? But they'd done it on so many people, and he probably wasn't the first to have the ability to see into the future. So there's no way they wouldn't find out about it. Izuku kept thinking to himself as Aizawa got a voice in his head that told him the boy. Aizawa searched around looking, and then he saw Izuku, and he thought to himself, could he? No, there hasn't been one in a while. Aizawa kept going, and he heard it again, but it was louder this time. He turned to the boy and thought to himself, there's no way he's not sensitive to it. But the Force doesn't lie. And if you're wondering why Aizawa would know about the Force, Aizawa has the ability to erase quirks. That doesn't leave him many options for, offensive capabilities. So when in his quest to learn about all of the martial arts, he learned about pretty much ki and sensing things and stuff like that. right? In his journey to become a good fighter before he became a hero. He learned about being force sensitive a while ago because it was an ancient practice that most people didn't know. But the only problem is you had to be sensitive to it, and it was a natural thing. If you didn't have it, you didn't have it, and if you had it, you had it. Aizawa had it, and he was very, very strong in the force. That's how he can use his bandages the way he does. He doesn't let people know that he has the ability to use telekinesis, but he uses his bandages that way, and that's how they do exactly what he wants them to do, even when it seems impossible. Aizawa considered this and decided to test him. He began to throw a punch at the boy, and the punch connected to his face. But that's when Izuku snapped back to reality. 15 seconds before, when he looked up at Aizawa weirdly, and Aizawa looked at him, wondering why the boy was staring at him. And Aizawa looked away and decided that he was going to do it, and he threw a punch at Izuku, but Izuku was already 2 steps back the moment he began to throw the punch, and Aizawa confirmed it. He is good. There hasn't been one in a while. They're always strong though. Aizawa then asked the boy if he just saw it in the future, and Izuku was astonished at how Aizawa knew about that, and he says, "So you are. That's good to know at least. Boy, would you like to become a hero?" Izuku realized that the guy didn't know his name, and he said, "Izuku." Aizawa looked at him and he said, "What?" He said, "Izuku. That's my name." Aizawa then said, "Good. So, Izuku, would you like to become a hero?" Izuku then shuddered to himself, saying, "Yes, I would." Aizawa then says, "Okay. We'll start your training soon enough." And every day after that, Aizawa always came over to their houses when he wasn't on duty, and he began to train Izuku. He began to train Izuku to banish all emotions from his mind and body and become clear, focused. After he already mastered this, because Izuku had practice in it because of the fact that he didn't have much access to his emotions anyway, he picked it up extraordinarily quickly, and it began to utilize how Izuku could see into the future. Aizawa explained how this worked, and Izuku pretty much caught on to it instantly. Because of this, Izuku was very informed about his abilities. Aizawa trained him in his reaction speed and, counterattacking, because that's the best way to use that ability. He can see into the future. Once he gets an opening by catching his opponent off guard, he takes the opportunity to end the fight right then. That's how Izuku was trained. Also in speed, because he needs to be fast, because he can't take many hits considering that he doesn't have a quirk. And if he gets hit by someone with super strength or fire ability or sound ability, he's down. So he needs to learn how to be fast enough to dodge them. Izuku continued his training and gained access to his ability to use the Force in more physical ways, like the ability to use telekinesis like most Force users, or Jedi. He continued his training for a while. He's about 13 now. It's been 3 years since Izuku started this training, and he could utilize the Force very well. And he was very good at using his battle tactics to take advantage of any openings anyone left, and Izuku was extraordinarily good at using those advantages, along with being able to see into the future. Izuku decided that it was time to train, so he grabbed Aizawa, because Aizawa actually was already over there. He began to eat dinner. It kind of became a habit since he stayed over late into the night, so he sometimes stayed over. This wasn't one of those days, but he was there, so he decided that maybe he should eat dinner. After they finished eating dinner a while later, Izuku asked Aizawa to train him some more, and he said he wanted to spar. Aizawa said, "Are you sure?" And he said, "Sure." They walked outside, and Izuku was in the backyard against Aizawa. Aizawa and him stood apart from each other as they began. Aizawa then said, "This is your final exam. After you pass this exam, there's nothing more I can teach you, and you will surpass me in all of the Force-based abilities, but not in physical abilities. I'll teach you solely on physical abilities after I give you your final exam. Are you ready? Once you take this exam, you have to pass. If you fail, You will no longer be my student, as this is a serious craft, and anyone who doesn't take it serious enough to pass does not deserve the privilege of being taught himself. And Izuku nodded without any emotion. Aizawa smiled and rushed at him. He used his claw, but before he could, Izuku yanked it off of his face, yanking Aizawa down to the ground. Izuku used the force to push off the ground incredibly fast as he went toward Aizawa for a punch to the chin. Aizawa, using his abilities, removed the cloth from his neck and flipped backwards, dodging Izuku's punch as he threw a kick straight to his skull. Izuku leaned back, dodging it, then spun to the ground quickly, extending the leg, trying to sweep Aizawa's leg, as Aizawa jumped onto Izuku's leg and kicked him in the face, sending him skidding back to the ground. He caught himself with his abilities, stopping him from rolling too far, as he rubbed his cheek with a little bit of pain and wince. He jumped back at Aizawa again and continued to have a ruthless assault on Aizawa as he continued to dodge. Izuku felt incomplete. He felt as if his training wasn't really going further anymore and he wasn't getting better. He was dodging some more of Aizawa's semi-serious attacks and he was doing pretty well. He even got a couple hits in, hitting Aizawa in the ribs and in the chin. Twice on both. Aizawa was a little bit winded, but decided to try to end the fight quickly to really test him. He dove at him quickly, getting low to the ground, and he tricked Izuku by thinking he was going to do a punch. When Izuku dodged to the right, Aizawa spun to the ground and used a back kick right to Izuku's chin, sending him in the air and making Izuku cough blood. Aizawa grabbed him with his ropes and then used what is pretty much a primary lotus on Izuku, spinning him to the ground but jumping off before he actually hit the ground too, sending Izuku barreling into the ground with a loud thud. Izuku was completely unconscious and was knocked out by his teacher. Aizawa, of course, said that Izuku said to himself, he has potential, he passes. But I guess when he wakes up, I'll give him the next step. That's when Izuku woke up a day later with a very severe headache. Aizawa was already at his house with a box. Izuku wondered what the box was, and he was about to grab it from Aizawa when Aizawa put up a hand saying, Do you want this? After you take this, it'll be your responsibility, and it'll be yours to take care of. If you break it, I won't give you another one. Izuku nodded without emotion. Aizawa smiled and said, Congratulations, you have passed your exam, you're no longer a Padawan. Izuku said what's a Padawan, and then that's when Aizawa said, never mind, don't worry about it, it's a student. Here, he gave him the box as Izuku opened it and realized that it was just a black circle kind of mask. Izuku then says, what is this? And Aizawa says, grab it and find out. He grabbed it and the thing began to morph quickly. Izuku dropped it from his surprise and it began to quickly shape through forms and it eventually stopped. It stopped on a staff. Izuku was weirded out by what it was, and that's when Aizawa says pick it up, and Izuku did so without hesitation because that's what the sensei taught him. He picked it up and it extended, then it de-extended, then it broke into two, then it reformed, and it just grew in size and length. Izuku was astounded by how useful this thing was, and that's when Izuku put it together. Is this what your cloth is made out of? Aizawa then says, very astute observation, yes. My specific weapon that was formed out of the black orb was my cloth. Yours apparently is a very useful staff. You'll learn quickly how to integrate this staff into your fighting style and use the force on the staff to become very proficient with it. You've seen all of its states and forms, but it does evolve with you, so it may change if your personality changes. But understand, this is not a light change. This thing doesn't change often, but when it does, it perfectly reflects you, so make sure you don't take it lightly. Izuku said, yes, sensei, bowed to the sensei as Aizawa just walked past him with a lazy look and said, now that all the hard stuff's done, we'll just have training once a week. Izuku then says, hi, sensei, and goes to tell his mother about it. Aizawa smiles to himself and continues walking once out the door and closes it. Over the next 2 years, Izuku trained with the staff, effortlessly, tirelessly, never stopping even once. He learned how to use the staff to his advantage, growing it in length to have more ranged attacks, even spinning it incredibly fast to create tornadoes with the force, and never losing grip on it because he always uses the force to bring it back, and he often likes to throw it past people in order to bring it back to him in the back of the head, kind of like Thor's hammer. He often uses tricks like this to get his advantage on his opponents and does this quickly. Aizawa was quickly being caught by Izuku, and he began his own training to further his own abilities. Of course, Izuku was still catching up and wasn't as strong as Aizawa, but Aizawa definitely was noticing that the gap was really small. Izuku continued his climb until he decided he wanted to go to the school he led. Izuku decided that this was the case, and he asked Aizawa if he could get him in. Aizawa said yes, but there'll be a 10-minute waiting period. You don't get any advantages besides just getting in. But that's because I feel as though you deserve it, so I'll give my recommendation. But you still take the exam to prove yourself, understood? Izuku bowed, saying, "Hi, Sensei," and that's when Aizawa left. And with that, I think we're going to end this episode. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. If you guys want to see a part 2, just let me know by getting the views up and getting the likes up, and I'll hit you with the part 2 the day after. I promise. I'll get it to you tomorrow if you guys want another episode. So just let me know by the views and all of that, and I'll get it done. I swear. So anyway, without any further ado, peace.